So over the past few days, we've taken the body completely off this frame, and I have the sheet metal ordered for the cab floors, rockers, and all that. So it's going to be a few days before they come in, and I have another truck that I'm looking at for a parts donor for this truck for the bed and fenders, but I'm not going to be able to go see that truck until middle of next week. So I'm going to go ahead and take this old air conditioning pump off here, because we're going to put a new aftermarket system on. I'm going to kind of clean up this engine bay the best I can and try to scrape all the grease and dirt and grime off this transmission and transfer case and just get some of this stuff cleaned up while we're waiting on the parts and waiting to go look at that other truck. So we're getting ready to cover up the carburetor and distributor on this engine, and I want to soak this engine, transmission, and transfer case down with a degreaser and use a power washer to get all this stuff cleaned off. But I would like to get all the wiring and stuff out of my way and cover up the carburetor, cover up the distributor. So to start with, I'm going to find number 1 spark plug wire and trace it up to the distributor. And that's going to be right here. I'm just going to put a little mark on this so I don't forget where number 1's at. And the firing order on these old small block Chevys is 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. And then you could trace this wire around and it'll go down to number 2. So you got your odds on this side, your evens on this side. So it's not a thing that you couldn't find your way back to number 1, but you'd have to set your timing mark and bring the piston up to top dead center and all that. So it's just easier if you could find it before you start taking these off and put a mark on it, and then you'd be ready to go to take all this out of your way, cover it up, and start your degreasing process. says it makes up to 25 gallon. So I'm gonna start doing some metal work on this cab today. I'm gonna cut out this rocker panel and put the new rocker panel in. I generally would start with my floor pan, but I made a mistake and the floor pan that I ordered is not big enough to cover all the rust that I'm wanting to repair. So I had to send back and get the bigger floor section. But I believe I can put this rocker in today, and then when the floor section comes in, I can slip it under the edge. But to start out with, I want to take some measurements from like where the position of this rocker is right now and correspond it with some other points on this cab, whether you go up to the top or in the middle here on this body line or whatever. I want to take some measurements in those spots to make sure when I put this new rocker in that I put it back to these spots, because once you start cutting this stuff out, that's going to weaken that cab and it'll do some flexing on you. So I just want to make sure when I'm done putting it back in that it's in the same spot that it was in before. You could also tack it in a few spots and hang your door back on and make sure that it's going to fit properly that way. And I'd like to leave some reference points, like, so this hole here where this little rubber stop goes, and there's a hole on the new part where the little rubber stop goes, and then there's also a hole in the front here where a bolt goes through the back of the fender. It's also here. I like to leave a few of those corresponding points on the cab if possible, just so when I line this stuff back up, it gives you a reference point there, so that'll help you out some too. But I'll go ahead and get started measuring on this thing and get it cut out of there to see if we can't get this put in. See these spot welds right here? A lot of people try to drill all those out, and that's good. You could drill that out and drill those spot welds out all the way around and take this cab corner off. But a lot of times with these trucks, they're so rotted and everything, you can't even find where to drill the spot welds. So if you just cut through the first layer of metal and don't cut through the second and know where all the braces are, then you can just cut the cab corner off and then go back and knock that little 1/2-inch piece off like I was doing there. Right here it is. That's where they'd be trying to drill each individual spot weld off of this. When you're cutting through right here,
You just want to make sure you don't cut so deep that you're cutting into the internal brace. Just cut through the first sheet of metal. And once you pop it off, you can peel that flange off of there. Now that I got this flange here exposed, I can go ahead and cut the outer layer of metal here and here, and then pop this piece off also. What I was showing you over here earlier on this flange, all these spot welds, that's what I was trying to deal with over here. Trying to find them and get them drilled out of there. Of course, it don't help to have a dull drill bit and a junk spot weld cutter. So I spent today cutting the old rockers and cab corners out of this truck. Like I said earlier, the floor section, I'm still waiting on it. So I got these all dry fitted in. Tomorrow I'll go cut the other side out, get the rocker and cab corner dry fitted in on that side. And then when the floor sections come in, we'll get those measured out and cut and put in place. And then we'll pop all this stuff loose and put weld through primer on everything, and then put it all back together and start welding it up.